What's up, everybody? My name is Big Cam and welcome back to another Comically Boston weekly nerdy news Monday morning podcast. And if you guys don't know, on Mondays I come out with the weekly nerdy news and we talk about everything that happened over the last week in nerddom, whether it's movies and Rotten Tomatoes scores, some DC news, some Marvel news, some potential theorizing of where the Marvel Studios and Marvel MCU cinematic universe might be going and what kind of projects will be coming in the future, because this is for the first time in a while we don't necessarily know what the future of Marvel is, right? Like, we know up until like Avengers Secret Wars, but after that, what do we know? Nothing really, but maybe some confirmations of a new director for the X-Men and potential 4 projects that will be coming next, the 4 biggest things that Marvel has planned, and some other projects that might be on the release schedule as well. But let's get right on into the news, shall we? Tommy Cruise, I went and saw Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning finally over the last week or so, and there's now a movie review for that out on the channel. If you haven't, go and check that out. Go check that out for me. But Tom Cruise is getting an honorary Oscar this year at the Oscars for his commitment to cinema, and I believe this isn't going to be the first stunt Oscar. I believe stunts get their own Oscar next year, which is a big thing. But, you know, Tom Cruise finishes out his goddamn Mission Impossible insanity, and, you know, he's not going to get a stunt award for it. So maybe this is like going to be technically the first ever stunt award awarded, and it will go to Tom Cruise. That seems fitting, especially if you've seen any of those Mission Impossible movies. Goddamn. But speaking of another movie and another actor putting his body on the line, I believe, and this is from the director of Tom Cruise's Top Gun Maverick, is the director of the F1 movie, which is PG-13. It is 2 hours and 35 minutes, and that comes out June 27th. This Friday that drops, and it is currently sitting at an 80% Rotten Tomato score with 46 reviews. And this, for me, if you're an F1 fan, you're going to be in love with it. But every trailer I've seen from this on the big screen, it just sounds insane. And I mean, if you're not a car person and you don't like to hear the whine of an engine going through gears, you're probably not going to be for you. You know what I mean? But like for me, like I love racing games, I love cars, so to hear him just go like, I'm gonna love every second of that. You know what I mean? It is a very hot week here in Massachusetts, and I just had to cut off my AC because that shit was loud as hell. And, you know, so let's get through this quick so I don't start hotboxing myself in here and make the house get all hot. Another movie that is currently out now, I believe, and comes out, yeah, last weekend it came out, and that is 28 Years Later, the, I believe, trilogy to 28 Days and 28 Weeks. So it says, in 28 days it began, in 28 weeks it spread, and in 28 years it evolved. And this movie has Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, and Ralph Fiennes, whatever. Mr. Fiennes. But yeah, I've heard good things from director Danny Boyle and Alex Garland, who has done some decent, crazy movies over the last couple years. And he did that, like, Civil War movie last year that was great. But the Rotten Tomatoes for 28 Weeks Later is currently sitting at 93% Rotten Tomatoes, certified fresh, and it's got 107 reviews. So very interesting that that hour and 55-minute horror movie has a better score than F1 currently, which is crazy. Like, you know, is horror movies back for the horror community? Are we 100% back? Speaking of coming back, Happy Gilmore 2 finally gets a poster. Now, I haven't reacted to the trailer on the channel, but it was a damn good trailer, and this movie comes out July 25th only on Netflix. And it feels a shame that damn near 30 years after the original movie came out, that this isn't getting a theatrical release. I think people would go to see it, but I'm sure if that comes out on a Friday on Netflix, that weekend everyone will be watching Happy Gilmore, you know? So stay tuned for a movie review for that coming later in July. But last week, Brandon Davis got a chance to talk to the director of I believe it was the Amateur, and they were like in New York at the Spy Museum. But this same director, James Hawes, who was doing the Amateur, is also doing some episodes of The Lanterns. And BD had a whole interview with him and was able to get these little tidbits out of him. And we found out that James Hawes promises intergalactic elements for the Max series. It won't disappoint the classic fans, Hawes said. We get to meet the characters in quite a rooted way before it takes you intergalactic. And then he also added that he compared the series to True Detective, Fargo, and No Country for Old Men, which isn't a series but a movie. And he said it's a buddy cop movie, and then somebody flies, right? So then you got this picture here of Aaron Pierre as Jon Stewart and Kyle Chandler as Hal Jordan. So, you know, we're going to have some buddy, you know, dynamics in, like, you know, a younger guy, an older, whiter cop, you know, a younger cop. And it's going to be like these, you know, buddy cop dynamic, and then all of a sudden they're going to take off in their Green Lantern shit and maybe go to space. So I feel like that's going to be really epic, and maybe they're working as Green Lanterns and they're hunting down something that came to Earth and they're trying to find something on Earth, and that's why it's set mostly on Earth. But I am fascinated to see this Lanterns TV series. I really want Jon Stewart to be the Green Lantern in the Justice League, and if Aaron Pierre is that person, I think it's going to work awesome. Even if Kyle Chandler's Hal Jordan is the guy, I mean, as long as it's not Guy Gardner. I mean, like, Guy Gardner's great to have around, but if he's like the Green Lantern in the DCU, I'd be upset. But if Jon Stewart was, you know, that feels so right to me. Jon Stewart, have a Hawk Girl, have a, you know, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Batman, Superman, you know, like, oh, I can't wait to see this team and this league and this universe get flushed out. And it just feels like James is building such a rich universe and such a full universe of characters. It just feels awesome. But also confirmed last week by Deadline and James Gunn himself that the Clayface movie, written by Mike Flanagan, that is greenlit and in production, has found its lead role as Clayface, with Tom Rhys-Harries lands role of Clayface in DC Studios with James Watkins to direct. And I don't know if I know James Watkins. Comment below if he's done some stuff I would know. But Tom Rhys-Harries, I don't necessarily recognize, but when I saw this image of Matt Hagen Clayface in Arkham, I was like, oh, I see what they're doing. This kid could be, you know, maybe a mix of the Barry Carlo? Whatever the original character's name, Carlo, and Matt Hagen. I'm thinking they might mix the two stories a little bit for the Clayface movie and have, you know, Matt Hagen be this Clayface, and he looks all messed up, you know, scarred, but then, you know, he might use his Clayface abilities to make himself look handsome, or, you know, make himself look like something else for a role or whatever, you know. But the actor they got is quite handsome. So if this is the underlying face, and then they're going to put a bunch of crazy, creepy makeup on top of that, I'm here for it, you know. I think this guy's going to be good. I think I do like Mike Flanagan quite a bit. His most recent movie, Life of Chuck, I want to see pretty bad, with Tom Hiddleston and Mark Hamill and a bunch of people. That looks pretty good. But so far, the DC universe of characters has Superman as David Cornsweet, Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre as your Green Lanterns, Millie Alcock as Supergirl, and now your Clayface is cast. And as far as other people, there is some others, right? Like there's Guy Gardner, there's Hawkgirl, but, like, you know, as far as the people that are like the faces of these projects, you know, these are it, you know, and we haven't gone too much more outside of that. James did tease that he might have some secret project that he hasn't wanted to put out the idea for yet because he doesn't want other studios to steal it. Now, I feel like that could be a theory time episode, just theorizing what James Gunn's secret DCU movie could be, and why would he not want studios to steal it. You know, comment below your thoughts or your ideas on what that could be. But today we're going to talk more about the Marvel MCU secret projects that might be happening right now. But let's finish out some of the DC stuff before we get into that. So here on People Magazine it says, meet the sexy new Superman. Handsome, humble, and ready to soar as the Man of Steel. Philly native David Cornsweet opens up about life as new dad and the thrill of landing the lead of summer's greatest escape. Ooh, so People Magazine calling James Gunn's Superman the summer's greatest escape. Wow. And there's also like this retro poster, kind of like reminds me of the old style of posters, or like even the Christopher Reeve style of Superman poster. But this new Superman, oh, it says It Begins DC Studios. It's got, you know, Lex and Rachel Brosnahan and Nathan Fillion and, you know, all the characters down the bottom. I'm so excited for this movie. And then we've seen the shot a couple of times of Superman and Krypto sitting on the moon looking at Earth. But I just thought it was really cute that they have now a shot of them sitting on the moon looking at Earth, but Krypto's hugging him and his face is over his shoulder rather than sitting next to him with his little ear up. Oh my god, James Gunn, don't make me cry by way of Krypto this entire movie. Like, if he hurts that dog, I'm gonna be pissed. He won't, but like, oh, if you do, oh, I'm coming. But now let's get into some of that Marvel news. And of course, after Superman, we have the Fantastic Four First Steps. So they've been trying to drop some retro posters as well. And you can see Mr. Fantastic solve everything, Mrs. Invisible Woman, Sue Storm together as a family. And then there's Flame On and it's clobbering time. So they're like catchphrases. Human Torch is Flame On, clobbering time. And Mr. Fantastic's is solve everything, is his mantra, his catchphrase is like, what? And then Invisible Woman is together as family. Like, they clearly were like, oh, we'll do the thing, his catchphrase, and the Flame On catchphrase, but then they're like, what are their catchphrases? And they just kind of made something up. Solve everything with an exclamation point. That is bad. That is really bad. But, you know, kind of fitting for Mr. Fantastic, actually. Then there's this one with the 4 different hands of the Fantastic team in a 4 logo. That's kind of cool. There's this retro version of the Silver Surfer, but now it's Shia LaBeouf. That's kind of cool. Put that on a fucking t-shirt. I'd buy that for sure. And then this last retro futuristic poster, put this on a t-shirt as well. I really like this one. The Fantastic Four bending around the corner of like this playing card. It's got a giant 4 in the bottom left. You got Mr. Fantastic's stretchy hand. You got the Invisible Woman behind him. The Thing up top behind her. And then you got Johnny down the side flying away all fired up. Yeah, looks really good, man. And then they released a couple extra popcorn buckets that we know for this movie. And this one I just thought was funny because it's like Mr. Fantastic's stretchy arm going around the popcorn bin and then like grabbing the top of the bin. I was like, that's weird, a little creepy, but I'm sure people will get it. But then now there's a whole bunch of these popcorn buckets, right? So now here's all the different types of things you can get as merchandise. There's the AMC, Cinemark, and Regal are all going to be getting this giant Galactus head popcorn bucket, so I gotta get that. I probably also gotta get Herbie. There'll be a normal popcorn tin. There'll be the flying car. There will be at Alamo. There will be some different cups. Cinemark. There will be some cups and different bags and Fantastic Four themed figures and little Funkos. Looks like there's some different character cups. A Little Caesars Fantastic Four 4-in-1 pizza. What? Cocoa Puffs, Tricks, and Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Cinnamon Toast Fantastic Four themed at Walmart and Kroger. Crazy. Also Reese's Puffs. Cheerios, Lucky Charms. There's also the blue raspberry Pop-Tarts coming back in like to promote Fantastic Four. Blue milk with Fantastic Four, which I think is just Star Wars blue milk that they're now branding as Fantastic Four for the moment. But yeah, tons of merchandise for the Fantastic Four, and Disney and Marvel are really pushing the Fantastic Four when I think they should be pushing their next show that comes literally tomorrow. I believe this comes out, and you probably, 6 o'clock Pacific time, probably 9 o'clock for myself. So breakdowns for the first 3 episodes, because now this is the episode release schedule for Ironheart. In June 24th, Tuesday. Episode 1, 2, and 3 will drop, and then episode 1 is titled Take Me Home. Episode 2 is titled Will the Real Natalie Please Stand Up, like the Eminem song. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up. So the real Natalie, so that might be her tech. And then it says, We in Danger, Girl, which I believe is a Ghost reference I've heard online. I'm not sure which Ghost. Is that the Ghost movie with Whoopi and Patrick Swayze? Or is that the Ghost TV show with Jennifer Love Hewitt? I don't know. But then, so we're going to get 2 weeks of Ironheart rather than a month or whatever. I speculated that they were going to do 1, 2, 3 and then 3 weeks after that, but no, it seems like we're getting 2 drops, the first half and the second half, over 2 weeks. July 24th we'll get the first 3 episodes, and then July 1st we'll get episodes 4, 5, and 6, which is what it is. I don't love this release schedule. I will probably break down the episodes 1 episode at a time, depending on how long they are and how they end up working out. But comment below, how would you like me to break them down? In 3 episode chunks or individually? I'll do whatever you guys want, you know, but the reviews and breakdowns for that, for episode 1 or the first 3 episodes, will be coming the 25th, Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. But episode 4 is titled Bad Magic. Episode 5 is titled Karma's a Glitch, and we'll talk more about that. Episode 6 is titled The Past is the Past, and that will be the total 6 episodes for this series. But episode 5, Karma's a Glitch, in M in Karma, has just a little bit of red around it, and they tried to sneak it past us. But why would they throw something like that in there? To put us on the scent of Mephisto with the M? Or whose crown kind of looks like an M? Is that maybe a Wanda reference? We did see her using some red magic in here. Is Ironheart bringing back the Scarlet Witch or introducing darker magic? Is this like going to be a spookier show than we imagine? There were some early reports that Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto is going to be in this show, but they could have cut that within the last 3 years. You know, you never know, especially if Sacha Baron Cohen's, you know, getting canceled or something. You know, Disney has fired somebody for less, right? Jonathan Majors. They're willing to flip and go a different direction. So I don't know. Comment below. Do you think that M is just something I'm looking into, or is that M Mephisto or Wanda, or I don't know? But we know there's going to be magic in this series, and we know that her suit looks pretty damn good. Like her first looks at like the practical suit, and this is definitely like the suit just standing there. Like it looks pretty damn good, man. And like I'm missing having a legit suit, and like yeah, there's the practical suit right behind Dominique Thorne there, and I can't wait to see her in the Iron Man suit and an Iron Man suit back. I do really like Anthony Ramos as well, so him as the Red Hood seems like it's going to be awesome as well. I don't know. Comment below your thoughts and what you think about all this. But the next news is quite big and quite possibly the biggest news of today. And I still, like, I won't believe it until I see it, but when, like, Deadline in the Hollywood Reporter are reporting things, it's kind of like, all right, those are pretty reliable sources. But Hollywood Reporter has reported that Jon Bernthal's Punisher, is returning, but this time for Spider-Man 4. So we know he's going to be in Daredevil Born Again Season 2, probably. We know he's going to be in a special presentation Bernthal Punisher solo thing. And then he's going to be in Spider-Man 4. I love this. If Shang-Chi, Punisher, Spider-Man, Daredevil are all in the Spider-Man 4 fighting like Kingpin as this like street level threat, I would be totally here for this. But, you know, it's just amazing that Bernthal and Tom Holland used to help each other land their roles. Like, when they were reading for their parts, like for when Tom was reading to get Spider-Man, Jon Bernthal was helping him out with the scripts, you know, behind the scenes, you know, like running the lines. And then Tom Holland was helping Jon run lines for the Punisher when he was trying to get the Punisher. So now it's just crazy that 8 years later that they're going to be starring together in an upcoming Spider-Man film. And it's also nuts that, like, both of them are starring side by side together in Christopher Nolan's new film, Odyssey, which is going to be a crazy project coming out next year. Zendaya is also a part of that. And it was also confirmed with this like same group of info that Ned and MJ are both definitely confirmed for Spider-Man 4 as well, which I assumed they would be, even though they might be at MIT. But like, Zendaya is with Tom Holland, right? Like, if Tom's making a movie, it feels like they're both going. You know, like at this point. You know, like she was filming with Pattinson in Boston. Tom was there. You know, if Tom's not busy himself, he'll be there right alongside her. I respect the hell out of that. But Marvel has been struggling, some say, in some ways, and you know, the box office numbers don't seem that great for some movies, but for some other movies seem incredible. But some people say like the Multiverse saga and Disney and Marvel has fallen off. And you know, we also have to take into account that COVID and the strikes and everything that happened in between, and that some people might just not be going back out into public to theaters still from COVID. You know, like there's people that are just like, nah, I'll watch stuff at home, I'm good. You know, like there's people that are just patient and just like refuse to spend the money on movies and will just wait the 45 days or however long it is for the projects to end up on Disney Plus. But the Multiverse Saga's box office totals: Black Widow made $379.7 mil, Eternals made $402 mil, which was shocking. I thought Black Widow would have made more than Eternals, but Eternals did decent. Shang-Chi made $432.2, so made the most out of those three movies. I believe that was all 2022, maybe even 21. I think 22 though. And then at the very end of 22 in December, Spider-Man No Way Home came out, and that made $1.9 billion, so almost $2 billion for Spider-Man No Way Home, which had a little bit of Doctor Strange in it, but the post-credit scene for that was Multiverse of Madness. Multiverse of Madness made $955.7 mil. I didn't realize that one almost made $1 billion, but that's crazy. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, that was not critically reviewed great by us audience people originally, but now after the fact I think a lot of us have come around to enjoying that film just as a Sam Raimi movie rather than, you know, the Multiverse of Madness Doctor Strange sequel that we all built up into our heads. But you know, it is what it is. I actually quite like that movie now, but originally I hated it. Thor: Love and Thunder, I kind of don't like now. Originally I liked it, but $760.9 million at the box office, so most of these are profitable still as like a budget standpoint. Wakanda Forever made $859.2 mil. I expected that one to make more money than Multiverse of Madness for sure, but you know, that definitely is like a high margin for like these next couple movies, you know, like that's definitely what Marvel's aiming for, is 800 plus mil, you know, closer to $1 billion rather than some of these other numbers like Quantumania only making 476, which seems like still a lot compared to some of these other ones coming up, where Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, James Gunn's last movie, 845.5 mil, you know, like that's pretty impressive that it made damn near comparable amounts to Wakanda Forever, but two very different movies, other than the fact that they're both sad. You know, like two movies that aren't very rewatchable for me in the Multiverse Saga because I'm in tears every time I see it. But then like the Marvels right after that only made 206.1 mil. And if I'm guessing the budget for that was probably 200. So we're talking they only profited $6 million, for which is a ton of money to me, but to Marvel that's nothing. Like that's chump change. Like they're spending more than $6 million on lawyers each year. You know what I mean? Like crazy. Deadpool and Wolverine though, with a nice little correction for Disney and Marvel, made $1.3 billion, but that was the only film Marvel dropped last year, right? So that 1.3 bill, if that was 1.3 bill times 4 movies, and they made what, 5.2 over 4 movies that all grossed $1 billion, they would be really, really happy. But they decided just to make $1 billion with just one movie last year, and Deadpool was decent for them. Captain America Brave New World earlier this year in February, I believe, or was that 2024? No, that was February this year, I believe. Just, what, 4 months ago? So 415.1 mil for Captain America Brave New World. And this shocks me because I definitely thought Thunderbolts had a better reviewed, you know, better scored movie than Captain America Brave New World. Like, people liked the Red Hulk sequence, but they also had a lot more complaints, I thought, about Brave New World than Thunderbolts. But apparently people didn't go and check out Thunderbolts because it only made $379.3 million, which is insane because it was really well reviewed and I heard everyone talking about it. So, you know, I thought a bunch of people went. I went to see that one in theaters twice versus I only went to see Captain America Brave New World once, you know? So, you know, grand total so far for the Multiverse Saga has been $9.3 billion over, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 films, with their 14th going to be Fantastic Four First Steps. I don't know. I mean, Fantastic Four First Steps will definitely get them over $10 billion for this phase, which is good for them. But, like, I don't know. There's some stuff that on here that I'm like, damn, I can't believe that made that much money. And then stuff like Thunderbolts that I'm like, this should have made more. Like, I thought for sure that would have been a global hit, but apparently not. But also you gotta think, Thunderbolts with the asterisk, everyone was like, what does that mean? Like, going into that movie, none of us really knew what that was about. And if you haven't seen like Black Widow or Hawkeye or any of the other Disney Plus TV shows, you might not know John Walker, you might not know Yelena, you know, like, you might not know Red Guardian. So there's characters in that you're like, who are they? I don't know. What are the Thunderbolts? Is it Thunderbolt Ross? If maybe you might not even know that name as like a nickname for Red Hulk. So, you know, you might have gone into that like Thunderbolts. I don't know. I mean, I expect that to be a Marvel thing and they just didn't even associate it, you know? Like, it's not like it's Captain America or Avengers, you know, like, so maybe that's why they so quickly pivoted to the new Avengers title just the weekend after it released. But I don't know about y'all. When Thunderbolts comes out on DVD, which is going to be really soon, it's going to be out for Blu-ray and digital release July 29th. So, you know, just over a month that we'll be able to own Thunderbolts ourselves on DVD, and I'm thinking it will be coming to Disney Plus real soon, so I can't wait for that, because this is a movie that I've been wanting to rewatch a bunch, and I just cannot wait to feast my eyes on Thunderbolts at home over and over again, be able to pause some of those scenes that I wanted to pause and go back on, you know what I mean? Like, anytime the Sentry's on screen, go back a little bit, you know, like anytime Red Guardian's on screen making you laugh, go back, laugh all over again. I'm gonna definitely overwatch the Thunderbolts when that one comes out on Disney Plus. But Thunderbolts director Jake Schreier has now been confirmed, or at least rumored confirmed. I don't know if this was like a real confirmation or just a rumor, but it seemed pretty legit that Jake Schreier is now confirmed to be the director for the X-Men movie, the new X-Men film that has been talked to be in the works, and maybe Ryan Coogler, maybe some other directors, but I'm thinking it's going to be more like an X-Men 97 reboot, you know what I mean, where after Endgame, Secret Wars, we might have had enough of the Fox universe and like even Hugh Jackman in those X-Men and kind of get those out of the way. But we can also say that like those X-Men are from that universe. And I think Jake Schreier will be doing a new X-Men and bringing in, you know, much like X-Men 97, where they'll probably have all the colorful costumes and probably inspired by that show, but be set in the modern day and have like this new team of X-Men and probably all young people, maybe Jubilee, you know, maybe a younger Cyclops, a younger Jean Grey, and then bring and have these people age up with Marvel for the next 20 years or whatever. And if Jake Schreier's the type of person they want doing that after the success in Heart that Thunderbolts had in bringing those characters together that really had no business being together but then worked so well together, you know, like I will pay good money to Marvel to see Bucky, John Walker, and Red Guardian bouncing off of each other again, you know, like just how funny they are bouncing off of each other, how funny that press tour was. Like, I ate up all of the coverage of Thunderbolts. It just was great. But new X-Men movie, that's exciting. We'll talk more about that in a second. There is two little comics I want to talk about, and this is Spider-Man 94, as we were just talking about X-Men 97, and how X-Men 97 got an animated TV show. We were talking about last year when that came out, they should do, you know, Spider-Man 94 and continue the original Spider-Man animated TV show, and they probably still could, but they took that idea and they made it a comic. So if you did want to know what happened after the original animated Spider-Man TV series, this comic, Spider-Man 94, is now going to continue on that story, which I thought was very cool. And then over the last couple weeks, we were talking about some DC Marvel crossover comics, and that comic being Deadpool and Batman. And in one of those comic series, there is a crossover between Daredevil and Green Arrow. So if you guys are big fans of those two characters, like I know there's some big Green Arrow fans out there, and myself, I'm a big Daredevil fan. So to see those two characters cross over and bounce off of each other might be really, really awesome. I might need to go grab myself these comics, you know, like a DC Marvel crossover comic hasn't happened in a long time. That might be something I want to add to my collection, you know what I'm saying? We're finishing it out today talking about 4 major Marvel movies that they have in the works, or have talked about to be in the works, or rumored to be in the works, and then some potential future projects that could also be in the works. But we're thinking that Black Panther 3 is definitely one of the movies that could be coming next. Blade, Fantastic Four 2, and then the new X-Men series are the 4, you know, biggest next 4 movies that they think are the next 4 projects from Marvel. But you gotta then also look at this, and it's like, okay, Blade, Fantastic Four 2, Black Panther 3, but you could also get a Doctor Strange 3 in there, a Shang-Chi 2, and a Thor 5, as well as that X-Men movie that Drake Schreier is going to be directing. You know what I mean? And then just the other day, it was this big thing that Marvel had locked down December 15th of 2028. So Doomsday is 2026. Secret Wars would be 2027, and then they locked down the date for 2028. So if we have, you know, December of 2026, December of 2027, and then 2028, I mean, they could just be locking that date down, so when Secret Wars gets pushed back a year and they need an extra year spaced out between Doomsday and Secret Wars, they could do that. You know, there was also rumors that Secret Wars could be split up into 2 parts, even though then the Russo brothers said they have no plans to do that at the current moment and just doing 1 film, kind of like Avengers Endgame was 3 hours rather than 2 2-hour movies. I think I would rather have 2 2-hour movies and have a 4-hour spectacle than them cut out a whole bunch of things I want to see and only have a 3.5-hour movie, you know, like, give me that extra half hour. Make it 4 hours if you need to. You know, look at Zack Snyder's Justice League. 4 hours, long as hell, but he had everything in there that needed to be in there, and it was pretty damn good, you know, only if it was released like that the original time. I still kind of want to see the David Ayer Suicide Squad cut, you know what I mean? Like the things we've heard about that. But will we ever? Who knows? Probably not. But so, Marvel's titles that we know are 100% happening at the current moment are Fantastic Four coming July 25th. Vision Quest is, you know, maybe going to be coming May next year. July 31st of 2026, Spider-Man Brand New Day will be coming. Former date of May 7th, 2027, we'll get Doomsday. I believe that's now pushed back to December, so that's what will be coming after Spider-Man Brand New Day. There's an untitled Marvel Studios movie for July of 2027. There's maybe a Scarlet Witch movie they had on this list for December 17th, 2027. I believe that is the new date for Doomsday, so maybe Scarlet Witch got pushed to one of those other untitled films. February 18th of 2028, maybe Blade, maybe not. May 5th, 2028 for Secret Wars, I believe got pushed back to December. And then November 10th, 2028 is an untitled film, and then they see how it did get pushed back because they have Secret Wars on here twice for May 5th and December. So now that May 5th of 2028, maybe a new movie, or maybe just drop that date for Disney. But X-Men could be then coming May 4th, 2029, and a Black Panther coming July 2029. I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty bogus timeline for Marvel there. But, you know, some type of idea and some type of, you know, brainstorming for what the future Marvel MCU projects could be, and some future dates and what those might be. So comment below your thoughts. What are some Marvel projects, whether it's Thor 5 and what would that be called, maybe Battle of the Gods, maybe Thor versus Hercules, you know, because even as bad as Thor Love and Thunder was, I think the post-credit scene of Hercules with as Roy Kent from Ted Lasso, Brett Goldstein, I think all of us were like, oh, I kind of want to see Hercules going after Thor and what that could be. You know, so Thor 5 I'd definitely be interested in. Black Panther 3 with Ryan Coogler and Denzel Washington I'd definitely be interested in. Maybe bringing in another T'Challa Black Panther, maybe his son aging up, maybe a different universe and it's going to be like Damson Idris. I've heard some crazy rumors about that. Maybe that X-Men movie with Jake Schreier will be fast-tracked a little bit, and rather than after Secret Wars, maybe it will be before or in between. Who knows? But also, do you think that the news about Punisher being in Spider-Man Brand New Day is legit? You know, and if that is something that's legit, what could that mean for the story? Is that movie going to have to be rated R now because the Punisher's in it, going to be killing people? I mean, you can't have the Punisher killing people and not be brutal and gory. And, you know, he's definitely not the type of character to keep it clean. You know, I guess it could be PG-13 and have your one F-bomb be from the Punisher. That'd be cool. But, like, it's still a Spider-Man movie, so like they probably aren't going to want to make it rated R, you know, like the amount of kids in the world that are going to want to watch the Spider-Man movie, you know, so I hope it just doesn't end up screwing over John Bernthal or whatever, but I do have a lot of trust in Dustin Daniel Cretton after Shang-Chi, so whatever that man has ideas for this Spider-Man 4, and Tom Holland said the script had him and Zendaya bouncing off the walls when they were reading it, so I have no idea what that movie could be, but I'm very, very fascinated to see what it could end up coming, especially with all the casting news we've been hearing from that. Very, very interesting stuff. The box office totals from the Multiverse saga. Ironheart right around the corner, so stay tuned for breakdowns of that coming later this week, and stay tuned for some Fantastic Four First Steps breakdowns coming later in July, and in just a couple weeks Superman, and then right before that we have Jurassic World Rebirth. So very exciting movie reviews and stuff to talk about in the future coming to the channel, so make sure you stick around and hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you don't miss future videos and you get the notifications when they come out. But if you've made it this far in the video and you'd like to support the channel, the best way to do that is subscribing, commenting down below your thoughts, share this video with a friend, hit the copy link button, and, you know, get this video out into the algorithm and help the channel grow. And it really goes a long way. I really, really appreciate anybody that's made it this far in the video. Once again, my name's Big Cam. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!